Prometheus contributes to the DevOps system by monitoring cloud-native applications and infrastructure and by watching over hundreds of microservices. Prometheus is basically a tool that every DevOps professional should be familiar with. It is an open source system for monitoring services and alerts based on a time series data model. It collects data and metrics from different services and stores them according to a unique identifier, that is the metric name and a timestamp. Hi everyone, this is Kavya from Eduveka. Welcome to today's session on Prometheus tutorial. Now, if you're someone who has no idea what Prometheus is and want to understand it from ground zero, this is the right place. Before we begin today's tutorial on Prometheus, I'd like to address the agenda. Firstly, we will understand what is Prometheus and why does one require this tool. Then we will talk about continuous monitoring with Prometheus, and then we will address the architecture of Prometheus. So here we'll talk about the main component in the architecture, that is the Prometheus server. Then we will talk about Prometheus metrics and its different types. We will then move on to the demo part of this session, and then we'll learn how to install Prometheus in our Linux machine. And then I'll also discuss the user interface of Prometheus application. Then we will talk about another important topic of Prometheus, that is rules. And then we will conclude this session by creating our own alert management system on Prometheus. I hope the agenda is clear. Now, if you like our videos, please don't forget to subscribe and press that bell icon to never miss the latest updates on the Edureka YouTube channel. Also, do check out our Edureka DevOps training certification. The link is given in the description box below. With this, let's move on to the first part of today's session. What is Prometheus? Prometheus is a free software application used for event monitoring and alerting. Now, what it really does is it records real-time metrics. We'll talk about metrics later on in this session. Now, this metrics that it records is stored in a time series database built using a HTTP pull model. And with this, you also have flexible queries and real-time alerting. Prometheus basically pulls these metrics, which are in a key value format, and stores the data as time series, allowing users to query data and alert in a real-time fashion. At given intervals, Prometheus will hit targets to collect metrics, aggregate data, show data, or even alert if some thresholds are met, in spite of not having the most beautiful graphical user interface. Now that we know that Prometheus is basically an alert monitoring system, now let's move on and understand why we need Prometheus. As I've already mentioned in the introduction, it basically contributes to the DevOps system by monitoring cloud-native applications and infrastructure, and also by watching over hundreds of microservices. Now, it really works well for recording any purely numeric time series data. Now, another really important benefit of Prometheus is that it fits both machine-centric monitoring as well as monitoring of highly dynamic service-oriented architectures. This is a real advantage. Now, in a world full of microservices, its support for multi-dimensional data collection and querying is a particular strength. Now, another advantage of Prometheus is that it is designed for reliability. To be the system you go to during an outage to allow you to quickly diagnose problems. Now, each Prometheus server is standalone. Not depending on network storage or other remote services, you can easily rely on it when other parts of your infrastructure are broken, and you do not really need to set up an extensive infrastructure to use it. Now, you must be wondering why Prometheus really, because there are other time series databases that can be used too, right? So one of the noticeable differences between Prometheus monitoring and other time series databases is that it is a pull-based tool, unlike Nagios, Sensui, etc. Now, because it is a pull-based tool, what it really does is it actively scrapes targets in order to retrieve metrics for them. For example, the node exporters or application exporters. So Prometheus expects to retrieve metrics via HTTP calls done to certain endpoints that are defined in Prometheus configuration. Node exporter and application exporters will listen on particular ports, and Prometheus server initiates a HTTP call to this particular exporter and fetch system or application metrics from the end. Now that we know why Prometheus is so important, let's move on and understand continuous monitoring in Prometheus. Monitoring applications and application servers is an important part of today's DevOps culture and process. Now, via continuous monitoring, you obviously want to continuously monitor your applications and servers for application exceptions, server CPU, memory usage, or storage spikes. And you also want to get some type of notification if the CPU or memory usage goes up for a certain period of time, or a service of your application randomly stops responding, so that you can perform appropriate actions against those failures or exceptions. This is why Prometheus is used in continuous monitoring. Now, with monitoring, there are a number of tools out there such as Amazon CloudWatch, Nagios, New Relic, and many others. But Prometheus is a very popular free and open source project for monitoring dozens of servers, as I've already mentioned, even microservices. Now that we know what is Prometheus used for in continuous monitoring, let's move on and check out the Prometheus architecture. So in Prometheus terms, we call the main monitoring service the Prometheus server. You can see that on the screen. And the things that Prometheus monitors are called targets. So the server is the monitoring service, and the targets is what the Prometheus monitors. So I hope that is clear. So in short, the Prometheus server monitors targets. I said earlier, targets can also refer to an array of things. It could be a single server or a target for probing of endpoints over HTTP, HTTPS, DNS, TCP, or it could simply be a HTTP endpoint that an application exposes, through which the Prometheus server gets the application's health status from. So now let me explain a little bit about metric. Each unit of target, such as current CPU status, memory usage, or any other specific unit that you would like to monitor, is called a metric. So Prometheus server collects metrics from targets over HTTP, stores them locally or remotely, and then displays them back in the Prometheus server. Now, the Prometheus server scrapes targets at an interval that you define to collect metrics from specific targets. For example, for a minute or 30 seconds or whatever you want, you can give the target as, and then it will finally store it in a time series database. You can see the storage box that is in between. That is your time series database. Now, you define the targets to be scraped and the time interval for scraping metrics in the prometheus.yml configuration file. You get the metrics details by querying from the Prometheus time series database, where the Prometheus stores metrics, and you use a query language called PromQL in the Prometheus server to query metrics about the targets. So in other words, you ask the Prometheus server via PromQL to show us the status of a particular target at one particular time. As you can see in the third white box, it accepts queries, that is, it accepts PromQL queries. Now, Prometheus provides client libraries in a number of languages that you can use to provide health status of your application. But Prometheus is not really only about application monitoring. You can use something called exporters to monitor third-party systems. Now, exporter is a piece of software that gets existing metrics from a third-party system and eventually export them to metric format that the Prometheus server can eventually understand. Now, a sample metric from a Prometheus server could be the current usage of free memory or file system free via a node exporter in the Prometheus server. We learn all of this in the demo part of this session. Now, I hope Prometheus server is clear to you. So the main component here is the Prometheus server, which is divided into three parts: the retrieval part, the storage part, and the HTTP server. So the HTTP server really accepts queries and displays it in the graphical user interface. Also, we'll be learning about Alert Manager later on in this session. So I hope all of these are clear. Let's move on to the next part of this session and learn about Prometheus metrics and its types. So here, each unit of a target, such as the current CPU status, memory usage, or any other specific unit that you would like to monitor, is simply called the metric. So the server collects the metrics and stores them either locally or remotely, and then eventually displays it on the Prometheus graphical user interface. Now, moving on, let us check out the 4 different types of metrics that are available. The first one that we'll be talking about is the counters. A counter is simply a cumulative metric that represents a single monotonically increasing counter whose value can only increase or be reset to 0 on restart. Now, for example, you can use a counter to represent the number of requests served, tasks completed, or errors. You always have to remember this, to not use a counter to expose a value that can decrease. Now, for example, do not use a counter for the number of currently running processes. Instead, use a gauge. We'll be talking about gauges in a bit. Now, client library usage documentation for counters are Go, Java, Python, and Ruby. let's move on and understand the next metric type, that is gauges. I'm sure you must be aware of gauge. Now, a gauge is a metric that represents a single numerical value that can arbitrarily go up and down. Gauges are typically used for measured values like temperatures or current memory usage. If you check out a speedometer in a car, it looks like a gauge, right? That is a gauge. That's exactly what we're talking about here. So the client library usage documentation for gauges are Go, Java, Python, and Ruby. The next metric type is the histogram. Now, a histogram samples observations and counts them in configurable buckets. It also provides a sum of all observed values. A histogram with a base metric name of base name exposes multiple time series during a scrape. Now, when you're operating on buckets, remember that histogram is cumulative. Now, moving on to the next metric, we have summary, which is very similar to histogram. A summary samples observations, while it also provides a total count of observations and a sum of all observed values. It really calculates configurable quantiles over a sliding time window. Now, a summary with a base metric name of base name exposes multiple time series during a scrape. Now, the difference between summary and histogram is that here you do not know what the range of values will be upfront, so you cannot use histograms. Whereas in histogram, you know what the range of values will be upfront, so you can just define it on your own. Now, with this, let's move on to the demo part of this session and install Prometheus on our Linux virtual machine. So I'm just going to check out my Ubuntu machine number. So the first thing what we're going to do is we're going to install Prometheus from the official website. So I'm going to go to my web browser. So I'm just going to type in Prometheus in my web browser and I'm going to click the first link. And as you can see, this is the official website of Prometheus. I'm going to click on the download button. So once I click on the download button, it will redirect me to a page. So as you can see here, there are a lot of products: Prometheus, Alert Manager, Black Box Exporter, and a lot more if you keep scrolling down. Right now, we're going to be downloading Prometheus. So we're just going to stay here and I'm just going to click on the operating system as Linux. And this will just show the tar file for the Linux operating system. I'm just going to right click on that and I'm going to click on copy link location. And I'm going to switch back to my terminal and click on wget. And this will download Prometheus for me in my Linux operating system. Now that it's downloaded, I just want to see the list of files in my tar file. So as you can see, there's the Prometheus Linux tar file, which is present currently in my Prometheus folder. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this file and then untar it using the command tar -xvf, and then I'm just going to paste this file. This will immediately untar the file for me. Once that is done, now I'm just going to list down the number of files that are currently present in my Prometheus file. Now you can see that there's an file which has been untarred here. Clear my screen. Okay, now I'm again going to just list it so you can see it clearly. Now I'm just going to copy this file and enter this directory. So I'm just going to list down all the files that are present. You can see there's console libraries, there's consoles, license notice. There's a file that's named Prometheus. So this is the application, the Prometheus application. So I've already mentioned before that the prometheus.yml configuration file really just defines the targets that has to be scraped, right? And also the time interval for scraping metrics. Now let's just check if all of those parameters that I just mentioned are there in the configuration file. So I'm just going to use scat command for it. You can see that there's a scrape interval parameter of 15 seconds. You can set the scrape interval to every 15 seconds. Default is every 1 minute. So I also have an alert manager configuration. Right now, we haven't set that up, but it's just there. You can also load your own rules and evaluate them according to the global evaluation interval. And you can see by default, it is currently active on the 9090 port. Okay. And by default, a scrap configuration containing exactly one endpoint to scrape is given. That is the Prometheus itself, right? As I've already mentioned before, Prometheus is a tool or an application that will scrape out metrics from different applications. But by default, right now, we have the Prometheus itself to be scraped, and that is currently present on the port number 9090. So I hope that is clear. We will learn about the rules in the next part of the session. We'll also learn about the alert manager configuration in the later part of the session. So both of these will be clear later. But I hope the scrap interval and the scrap configs are clear to you. Now let's move on to the next part. Now I'm just going to clear the screen. Now I'm just going to execute Prometheus by using point / Prometheus, and this will immediately activate and get my Prometheus application running. If we move back to my web browser and just type in localhost 9090, this will redirect me to my Prometheus application, as you can see. Now if I come out of my terminal, right, okay, and I reload my page, you can see that it is unable to connect to my Prometheus. So what I'll have to do is I will have to create a Prometheus service and get that running. So let's learn how to do that. I'm just going to clear my screen. So now to be able to run Prometheus as a service, I'm going to use the copy command. I'm just going to use the cp-r command. I'm just going to copy all of these files that are consisting in this folder to the destination folder. And I'm going to use this command -user local -bin Prometheus. Now, for any application to be run as service, you will have to compulsorily have a .service file. So let's go ahead and create one. So to create the service file, I'm just going to use the command sudo vi, and I'm going to enter that particular folder. So as you can see, I just typed out a tiny piece of code. And as you can see here, this is my executable command and this is my configuration file. Let's go ahead and save this. Okay, great. So now that our service file has been created, I'm just going to clear my screen, and now we're just going to start our service file. Now, once that is done, I'm just going to check the status of Prometheus. It is active and running. Great. Now, if I want to stop Prometheus, I'm just going to type in the command sudo service Prometheus stop. Okay. Now that I refresh my page, you can see that Prometheus is up and running. So that's great. I hope it's clear how to create your own service file so you can get Prometheus up and running. I hope it was very clear, and I hope you understood how to install Prometheus into your virtual machine. Now, in the next part of the demo, I'm just going to brief you all about the graphical user interface of Prometheus, so stay tuned. Okay, so now we're going to check out the user interface of Prometheus. So in the previous session, we installed Prometheus and we got the instance running. Now, if I click on Prometheus, this is where it will take me. Now you can see that there are 3 options that says enable queue history, use local time, enable autocomplete. You can use the local time if you'd like to enter some time to evaluate the queries. So there's a search bar here for you to type in the expression that you'd like to execute. Now the expression or query that you'd like to execute is usually executed in 2 different forms, that is the table form and the graph form. As of now, since you don't have any expression and query, it says no data queried yet. Now on the top, you can see 3 options that says enable query history, use local time, enable autocomplete. So this option will allow you to use your local time. Since I'm in India and it's 10:08 right now, so that's my local time. Now, if I want to also enable my query history, that is all the queries that I have executed in the past, So this option will simply enable me to check out the queries that I've executed in the past. So I'm just going to untick that because I don't have any queries that I've executed in the past anyway. Another interesting thing in this page is that you can add several panels, right? So you can execute different queries all at once. This is great. And this option, add panel, has been added in the recent times. So this is the new user interface. You also have a classic user interface. I'll shift to that. And you can see that here you can enable query history. That's the only option that's common from the new user interface. Also, you have a bar that will allow you to type in your expression or query. You can also insert metric at cursor. Now, since Prometheus is written in Golang, so you have a lot of metrics that are related to that. You also have metrics related to Prometheus. Now, if I want to execute any of these metrics, I can just click that and I can execute it. You can see that the instance localhost of port 9090 is currently up and running, and the job is Prometheus. I can view the graph too if I'd like to. Now let's just execute another query. I'm just going to click Go Info, and this will just give me the version of the Golang and the job, etc. So you can just really execute all the queries directly from this option in your classic UI. But as you can see in the new user interface, that option is unavailable. Now let's move on and check out the other options that are available in this panel. Let's click on alerts. Currently, we have no alerts. As I've already mentioned before, that alerts are simply conditions that you will have to specify. And if these conditions are satisfied, so the alert will be triggered to that particular maintainer or manager. So currently, as we have none, it just shows nothing here. So these options will allow me to check my inactive alerts, my pending alerts, my firing alerts. So usually it's in inactive state if the condition is not satisfied. If the condition has been satisfied, then it'll go to the pending stage. And finally, if it exceeds the critical limit or the critical amount, it will enter the firing stage. So you can view the alerts based on these three states, that is the inactive state, pending state, and firing state. Moving on, we have graph. So this is the same as the homepage of Prometheus, right? So we've talked about that. So once I click the status option, you can see that there are 7 different options that drop down. The first one is runtime and build information. This just really gives me, the information about Prometheus. That is the start time of Prometheus, the working directory, the configuration reload. Extra information about my runtime and build is given in this option. Now, the alert managers, there are none, so it just says endpoint. Now, you can also see the Go version here. You can see the build user, build date, all of that. The version of the build information also is given here. So, this is what the runtime and build information is all about. The next option in the status is TSDB status. What is TSDB? TSDB is simply the time series database. So this option allows me to check out my database's status, right? The number of series, the number of chunks. So I can just view the statistics of the head cardinality. So I can just view the top 10 label names with value count. I can view the series count by metric names. And I can also check out the label names with high memory usage. In fact, I can also, take the queries from this top 10 series count by metric names. I can just execute it as a query. And you can see that this gives me the data of all and this just executes the information and gives me the data, the list of data that allows me to check out my HTTP request duration in seconds. So also I can view this in graph. So I'm just going to click on that. And this just gives me information of all of the data that is available in the table in terms of graph. So I hope this is clear. Now moving on, we'll check out command line flags. This is just the command line flags that I can use to really make changes in my service file. We created a service file, right, to run this particular service of Prometheus. So this just really gives all the information about my service file. So you can see that there's config file currently in this location. There is also query timeout, and you can view all of that, all of the extra information here. You can check out the web listen address. It's in port number 9090. You can also check out the web page title. Currently, the web page title is Prometheus Time Series Collection and Processing Server. You can change this if you'd like to. You could also check out the web read timeout. So all the information basically about this service that we've created is given in the command line flags. So moving on, we will check out a configuration file. This configuration file we've already seen before, right? This is our prometheus.yml file, right? So this is simply the same file that is given here. You can see global, alerting, scrap configs. You can check out the targets and then finally the port number. Okay. So if you'd like to copy this, you could just copy to clipboard. Moving on to the next option, we have rules. There's none right now, so it shows nothing. Later on in the session, we'll be creating our rules, so stay tuned for that. Now, the next option is targets. There's only one Prometheus service that is up and running, and that is of port number 9090. So the state is up. You can see the instance, you can see the job, and the last scrape, the scrape duration, and if there are any errors that will appear here. Before we move on to the next option, so I'm just going to show you the metrics of this instance, the Prometheus instance that we're running. I'm just going to click on metrics. Now you can see that Prometheus defines a very nice text-based format for its metrics. I'll just zoom this a bit so you can view it better. So now you can see that the data is relatively, human readable. And we even have the help and type decorators to really increase the readability, right? As I've already discussed before, Prometheus has only 4 types of metrics, right? To keep everything really simple, that is counter, gauge, histogram, summary. Now, the type and help attributes here help us provide user-friendly hints for each metric in the output. So that's what this help and type decorators really do. They just increase readability. You can't really view all of these metrics and understand what they are. So they're just helping you with the readability. You can see that the help here says go GC duration seconds, a summary of the pause duration of garbage collection cycles, and the metric type is summary. Here you can see the type is gauge, and you can see all of that information. Here the type is counter. Also here the type is counter, gauge again. So that's what really the type will do. So the type will just give you an insight of what type of metric it is. So help will just really describe the metric, and type will just give you the type of metric. So I hope this is clear. So I hope metrics was easy to understand. Now that we finished targets, let's move on to service discovery. And this just shows you, so currently there's just one endpoint that has been scraped, and that is our current running active instance, that is Prometheus. Now it just shows the address, the metrics path, and the scheme, the job, and just shows some labels of the target. So that's all service discovery is all about. And if you'd like to check out and know more about Prometheus, just click the help option in the panel, and this will redirect you to the Prometheus official website. Now, the classic UI we already discussed, and this is all for the graphical user interface of Prometheus. I hope it was easy to understand. I hope it was easy to learn. Now, let's move on to the next part of the session. Okay, so now in this part of the session, I'll be downloading the Prometheus node exporter. So for all of y'all who don't know what the node exporter is, it really is a way to measure various machine resources. Now the machine resource can be your memory, disk, or even your CPU utilization. So it's a very famous application of Prometheus. So without much ado, let's go ahead and download our node exporter. I will go to my web browser and I'm going to the official website of Prometheus. So the first link will redirect me to the official website of Prometheus. I'm going to click on the download button and I'm going to scroll down and look for node exporter. So I'm just going to copy the link location. I'm quickly going to move back to my terminal and I'm going to download node exporter. So now that the node exporter has been downloaded, now let's just check if the file is available, and it is. So I'm just going to untar this tarred file with the command tar xzf, and I'm just going to copy this. And this command will just untar my file. Okay, so I'm just going to clear the screen. Now let's just move ahead and check out what are the files that are there in our node exporter file. So we have license, node exporter, and notice. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the sudo cp command. So I'm going to copy the node exporter file to my user local bin location. So with the help of the copy command, that is the cp command, I'm just going to create a copy of the node exporter file into my user local bin location. Okay. Once that is done, I'm just going to check out the files that are present in my user local bin location. You can see that there is a node exporter file that has been copied, right? So I've just copied this file into this location. That's all I've done. Moving on, we'll now create a service file. So we created a service file for a Prometheus application, right? So even for the node exporter, I'm going to create a service file using the command sudo vi. So I'm just going to name this as node exporter.service. So I have written down a piece of script the same way we did to a Prometheus service file. Here you can see the description, which says Prometheus node exporter service. You also have the type, you have execution start, which is currently present in the user local bin location. Now, once that is done, I'm just going to save this and I'm going to reload my system. Now I'm just going to start the service. You'll have to make sure of one thing, and that is the node exporter. So what you're naming the service file, you'll have to initiate the same name. So as you can see here, the service file is named as node exporter. So I'm just going to type the same thing here and I will start the service. Once I start the service, I'm just going to check its status and you can see that it's active and running. So that's great. So the node exporter is currently running on address 9100 ports. So we're just going to check it out. And it opens. So you can check out the metrics that are currently running in our node exporters. So this is the endpoint as to where our Prometheus will scrape all of its data. So now that we have node exporter up and running, let us configure the node exporter into our prometheus.yml file. So every time you'll have to configure a particular target, you will have to go to the prometheus.yml file and add the target there. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move to my directory. Okay, once that is done, I'm just going to list out all the files. So you have the Prometheus file here. Here you can see the prometheus.yml file, right? I'm just going to clear my screen. So now I'm just going to view all the files that are present in Prometheus. As you can see that there's the YML file here. So we're going to use the command sudo vi prometheus.yml to edit our configuration file. So now you can see there is only currently one job, and that is Prometheus. We have to add another job to our file. So here I'm adding node exporter as my job name, and the target is with IP address 9100, right? So make sure the indentation is correct. So once the indentation is correct, we have applied a target. We have added a target to our configuration file, and we can just save this. Once that is done, I'm just going to clear my screen. So now I'm going to restart my Prometheus and check the status. It's active and it's running. So we can just go back to our page. So you can see here the node exporter has been added to our service discovery with address as localhost 9100. It's localhost because we are currently working on our machine. If you want to add another machine's port address, you can do that too in Prometheus by mentioning their address. And now you can just go back and you can check out the configuration file has its changes. So it has another target that's named node exporter, and also its port number is 9100. So if I move back to my classic UI2, I can check out the metrics that are here. If you notice, there are a lot more metrics than before, right? You also have the node metrics. If I want to check out the node CPU seconds in total, I can execute it, right? So now that I've executed it, you can check out the CPU's total number of seconds it is hosting the node exporter for. You can also check out the username info of the node. You can see that the instance name is given here, the machine that we're currently working on, the node name is Edureka, the system name is Linux, the version is given here, and also, so the entire node's username info is given if we execute this query. So this is great, right? Like Now your node exporter has been successfully configured into Prometheus. Let's move on to the next part of the session. Before moving on to the next part of the session and configuring Alert Manager, let's understand querying a little bit more in detail. So Prometheus, as we all know, fundamentally stores all of its data as time series, right? Now, each time series is identified by a metric name. We've also discussed this before, and as well as a set of key value pairs that Prometheus calls labels. Okay. Now, the metric name indicates the overall aspect of a system that has been measured. Let me just execute this query Prometheus HTTP request duration seconds total. Okay. Now you can see that labels serve to differentiate subdimensions of a metric, such as, the handler, the code, the instance, the job that it's currently running on. Finally, a sequence of samples forms the actual data for a series. Okay. Each sample consists of a timestamp and a value, where timestamps have millisecond precision, and here values are always 64-bit floating point values. The best part of Prometheus queries is that you can add regular expressions, you can specify a time limit, a certain time limit. You can also use different functions. We'll see all of this. So now I could add a certain filter to my query. Now, if I want to just execute the queries with label code 400, I'm just going to add that filter here and execute the query. And this will automatically display the HTTP request in total with code 400. And you can really, add whatever you'd like to in your filters. So that is one way to work with queries. And also, as I've already mentioned, you can also add regular expressions, right? So you can use not equal to, is equal to, and many other things. So for example, if you want to list all the series, no matter which metric name or job, with the handler name starts with API, okay? So you can just simply run this query. What we've done in this regular expression is, so this is obviously a regular expression, right? So in this regular expression, it needs to end with a full stop and a star. Okay, since regular expressions always match a full string in Prometheus. Now, the resulting time series is usually a mix of series with different metric names. Now you know that how to select your time series by the metric names as well as a combination of their label names. So in the next part, we will learn how to calculate rates or deltas of a metric over time. Now, one of the most prominent frequent functions you will use in Prometheus is the rate function. Now, instead of calculating event rates directly in the instrumented service in Prometheus, it is a very common thing or a common way to track events using raw counters. Okay. And to let Prometheus server calculate rates ad hoc during query time. This has a number of advantages, such as not losing rate spikes between scrapes, as well as being able to choose dynamic averaging windows at query time. Counters start at zero when a monitored service starts and get continuously incremented over the service process's lifetime. Occasionally, when a monitored process restarts, its counters reset to zero and begin climbing again from there. Graphicking raw counters is usually not very useful, as you will only see an over increasing line with occasional resets. Now we will just use another query for this example. Now I'll just explain you how the rate function really works. And for this, I'm just going to use the query Prometheus HTTP request duration seconds count. Okay. And I'm just going to specify the job as Prometheus. And you can also view the graphs. It looks something like this. Okay, now to make counters useful, we can use the rate function to calculate their per second rate of increase. This is really why we use rate function. We need to tell rate function over which time window to average the rate by providing a range selector after the series matcher. Okay. Now, for example, to compute the per second increase of the above counter metric as averaged over the last 5 minutes, we can just add the rate function and just specify the time limit as 5 minutes. I'm just going to close the braces and execute the function. Okay. You can check out the graph now. You can see now the result is much more useful, right? Rate function is very smart and automatically adjusts for counter resets by assuming that any decrease in a counter value is a reset. The variant of rate function is irate function. While rate function averages the rate over all samples in the given time window, that is 5 minutes in this case, irate function only ever looks back 2 samples into the past. Okay, it still requires you to specify a time window like 5 minutes to know how far to maximally look back in time for those 2 samples. Now, irate function will really react faster to rate changes and is thus usually recommended for use in graphs. In contrast, the rate function will provide smoother rates and is recommended for use in alerting expressions. Okay, now let's execute the irate function for this. You can see that the graph would look like this, okay, uncovering short intermittent dips in the request rates. Rate and irate functions always calculate a per second rate. So here sometimes you'll want to know the total amount by which a counter increased over a window of time, but still correct for counter resets. You can achieve this with the increase function, okay? For example, to calculate the total number of requests handled in the last hour, you can use the increase function. And I will change this to 1 hour. Now that we know how queries work, how you can use regular expressions, and how you can really use functions in your queries, let's move on to the next part of the session, that is custom rules. Okay, so time series queries can quickly become quite complicated to remember and type using the expression browser all the time, right? So what you can do is sometimes in some situations you'd want to use some queries very frequently, right? But you don't want to really type the same query over and over again. So in this case, rather than remembering and typing this particular query every time, we can create a recording rule that will run at a chosen interval and make the data available as a time series. So how are we going to do it? So this is a pretty popular query that I'm going to execute. That is node memory 3 bytes. Okay. I'm just going to execute this query. This will just give me how much of free bytes is available in the node exporter. You can see the free number of bytes here. But what if I want to execute this in terms of, percentage? So here you can see the number of memory that the job node exporter is using, and it's just 4. So I'm just multiplying by 100 to check in percentage form. So you can see that it is only using 4 bytes of memory. Now, if I want to see how much of memory is remaining, I'm just going to minus the entire query with 100. So you can see that 95% of bytes is left over. Now, what if I want to execute this query very often, right? So it'd be very time consuming for me to type the whole thing out and then execute it, right? So, but there's an easier way to make this a query, right? So it'll just drop down in your drop down list, and then you can just search for it and execute it, right? So how do we do that? So what we're going to do is we're quickly going to shift back to our terminal. I'm just going to clear my screen. Okay. And I'm just going to move into the user local bin Prometheus directory. And now here we have to create a new file called Prometheus rule. So that's what I'm going to do. And since it's a YML file, I'm just going to add the YML extension. Here, I'm just going to add the name as custom rules. And I'm just going to specify my rule here. So I just type the whole thing out. I have named this custom rules and I've recorded this query as node memory free in percent, and the expression we've already executed is the same one. I'm just going to go ahead and save this. I'm just going to clear the screen. So Prometheus usually comes with a tool called Prom tool, and this Prom tool can be used to really check your rules files, and you can do really a lot of things with Prom tool. For now, we're just going to use this command which I typed out, and we're going to execute this command to check if our file is running okay. And you can see that it checks the Prometheus rules file and it says it's success. Now let's go ahead and add the Prometheus rules.yml reference to the Prometheus YML rule file section. I'm just going to clear the screen. Now I'm just going to enter the prometheus.yml file. So here I'm just going to enter the Prometheus underscore rules.yml file. So now I'm just going to save this file. Now once that is done, I'm just going to restart the system. And I'm just going to check the status too. Okay, great, it's up and running. So we're just going to switch back to Prometheus. And I remember naming it FreeBytes. I'm just going to switch to the classic UI so I can look for it. And it was named Node Memory Free in percent, right? This is exactly what we named our query. And I'm just going to execute this. And you can see that it's 95%. So this is how easy it is to make your own queries and execute them. Okay, so now that we've created our, custom rule, so let's just go check out our custom rule. And you can see that it's here. And the state says, okay, so that's great. Now let's go ahead and create our first alert rule. Okay, the same way that we created our custom rule, we're going to be creating our alert rules. This is exactly why I explained you custom rules in the beginning. So I'm just going to switch back to my terminal. I'm going to clear the file. I'm just going to go to the Prometheus underscore rules.yml file. And once that is done, so I'm just going to type in my alert in this Prometheus underscore rules.yml file. And once I'm done typing, so I'll just explain you the alert after that. So I've created a rule named alert rules, and this alert will allow you to recognize when your instance is down. So we have currently the Prometheus instance that is running, and we also have the node exporter that's running. So if any of these instances go down for up to 1 minute, and then the alert will be up. Okay. So the severity is pretty critical, and we have given annotations too where we have mentioned the instance. So this just gives a summary of what instance is going down and a description too of the job type. And also we have mentioned the job type and that it has been down for more than 1 minute. Okay. So once this is done, we're just going to save this. I'm going to clear my screen. So the same way that we executed the prompt tool command, we're just going to execute that. So we're just going to execute this command. And it says 2 rules found. That's great. Now I'm just going to restart my Prometheus and I'm going to check the status. Okay, it's up and running. Let's switch back to our Prometheus and reload it. Now you can see that there is now an alert rule, okay, which has the alert instance down and the expression is up is equal to 0. So this expression that says up is equal to 0 is pretty interesting because now if I go to my Prometheus and just execute up, it'll just tell me what are the jobs that are currently up and running. Now the value is currently 0. So if the expression turns 0, so then the alert will be activated. So here, this is what the expression really means. So here, if the up is equal to 0 for more than a minute, then the alert will be immediately activated. As I've already mentioned before, the 3 stages, that is the inactive stage, pending stage, and then the firing stage. If none of the alerts are up, then it's just going to be an inactive state. And if, for instance, one of the jobs go down, okay, then it will immediately move to the pending state. So once it immediately moves to the pending stage, then it will wait for a minute. because we have specified the condition that it should be in the pending state for a minute. And if it goes beyond a minute, then it should go to the firing stage. Okay. So once it reaches the firing stage, all of the managers that are involved in getting the notification about this alert, then they will be informed about it immediately. So I really hope you understood how to create your own rules, how to configure them into your Prometheus rules.yml file, and then just really, understand how they really work. Now let's move on and install and configure our alert manager. We'll have to just simply go to the Prometheus official website, click on download, and then you'll get an option called alert manager. I'm just going to click on that. And then I'm just going to copy the link location of Linux because I've been clearly using Linux machines. So I'm just going to copy that link location, clear my screen, and so I'm just going to download Alert Manager. So once I copy the link location, what I'm going to do first is I'm just going to move back directories. So now I'm just back to my root. I'm just going to move into my Prometheus directory. So I'm just going to download my Alert Manager here. Okay, as you can see that the download is complete. I'm just going to list out the files. And you can see that there's an alert manager, the tar alert manager file. I'm just going to untar this using the command. And you can see that using the command sudo tar -xvf, and then I'm just going to paste the link. And you can see that the files have been untarred. I'm going to clear my screen and I'm just going to list out the files. Yeah, so the alert manager file has been untarred. I'm just going to enter into this directory and check out the files that are currently in this. You can see that there's an alert manager executable file. You have alert manager.yml, the configuration file. You have an AMP tool. So now what we're going to do is we're going to be running alert manager as a service. The same way we ran Prometheus and Node Exporter as a service, we're going to also run alert manager as a service. So what I'm going to do first is I'm just going to copy my files into the user local bin. So now I'm just going to create the alert manager service file. If you remember, we also created a Prometheus service file and also Node Exporter service file. So we're just going to do the same. We're going to create an alert manager service file. So once you create your alert manager service file, this is what you'll have to type out. I've typed out the script. So you have a description, you also have the type of the service, and you're just going to mention the location of the configuration file and where the execution will begin from. Okay, once this is done, I'm just going to save this file. I'm going to clear the screen. So I'm just going to shift locations to the user local bin alert manager directory. So I'm just going to list out the files, and you can see there's the alert manager.yml file. So here is where we'll have to make a few changes. That is the alert manager configuration file. So I'm just going to make some changes there. So this is the default file. I'm just going to make some changes here, and I'm just going to explain what the changes are about. You can see that you have receivers where you have to configure your email ID, that is your email ID from where you're sending the message, and the receiver who's going to receive the message, right? So you're just going to add a to email ID, you're going to add a from email ID, and you're also going to add a username, you're going to add identity, that is the email ID, and then you're also going to add the Gmail password. Now that all of my email IDs are in Gmail, so I'm just going to mention the public Gmail host server. So I'm just going to add in all my credentials and cut to the next part of the session. And as we have already seen before, there's a tool that is called AMP tool in the Alert Manager. So the AMP tool is just an executable that allows you to view or to modify the current state of the Alert Manager. So I'm going to execute this command user local bin alert manager AMP tool and check the configuration file, and then just give the location of my service file. Okay, and once that is done, it's going to check. So it'll just check if it's successfully configured. Once that is done, you can just see that there's one receiver on this end. Okay, I'm just going to clear my screen and I'm going to start my alert manager. So once I've made changes to my service file, so now I'm just going to execute my command user local bin alert manager amp tool. Now for all of y'all who don't know what amp tool is an executable that allows you to view or to modify the current state of the alert manager. Okay, so once this is done, this is successful. So you can just check the config file with the help of amp tool, and once that is successful, you can just see that there's one receiver. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to clear my screen and I'm going to start my alert manager service. Now that the alert manager is up and running, you can see that it's currently running on port number 9093. So I'm just going to check out the port where the alert manager is up and running. As you can see that there is 4 different options that are given: alerts, silences, status, help. And you can just filter your alerts, group your alerts, and you can also see the status of your alerts. And you can also see the active, pending, and expired alerts. You can get help from this page too. So you can just see your alert manager in general. And now now with the alert manager active, let's move on to the demo part. Okay, so now that we have set up our alert manager, so we'll quickly shift back to our terminal and I'll clear my screen. So now we have to configure alert manager into Prometheus. I'm just going to move out from this directory and I'm just going to enter the Prometheus directory. I'm just going to list out the files that are present here. So I'm just going to edit my prometheus.yml file. And here, as you can see, I'm going to specify my alert manager. So I'm just going to specify my alert manager to port number 9093. And once I'm done with that, I'm just going to save this file. And now I'm going to restart Prometheus. Okay, it's up and running. So I'm just going to check if my endpoint has been successfully scraped in my runtime and build information. And if I scroll down, you can see that, so the alert manager has an endpoint, right? And this is it. So that's great. We have Prometheus, we have alert manager up and running. Now let's just go check the status of all our targets. We have Node Exporter, which is up. We have Prometheus, which is up. Okay, now let's go to our alert stage. We have one alert rule that we've currently written and it's inactive. Now let's get into the demo part and let's just stop one of the instances. I think I'm going to stop my Node Exporter instance, and once that starts, so let's just see how the alerts go by when one of the instance is shut down. Okay. So I'm just opening a new terminal, and what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to okay, now what I did is I just entered my Prometheus directory. I just listed down the files, and we have the Node Exporter file. I just changed the directory to the Node Exporter and listed down the files. And currently the Node Exporter is up and running, obviously. But now what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to stop this service. Okay, before that, I'll just clear my screen and I'm just going to stop the service. And I'm just going to check the status. So it's inactive. And once that is done, I'm just going to quickly shift to my status of the target. So you can see that one of the target is down. And I'll just execute the up query. And you can see that the node exporter has the value 0. That is, it's down. Okay. I'm just going to check the alerts. You can see that the alerts is in the pending state, right? There's 0 in inactive and there's just 1 in pending. So it's just going to be in the pending state for a minute. If you remember, we had specified that for a minute, it's going to wait if the instance is going to be down. So once it crosses the 1 minute threshold, it's going to go to the firing stage. Here, it's going to alert the manager. That is me currently. I will receive the mail saying that one of the instance is down and it's a critical alert that you will have to address immediately. Okay. So that's how it really works. Now let's reload the page and you can see that after a minute it's entered the firing state. Okay, and there are none in pending state. So it was in pending state for a minute and then it moved to the firing state. So in the previous session we learned about how to create our own alerts in Prometheus and how to be notified about these alerts so that we can take discrete actions whenever necessary. So in the next part of the session I'm just going to integrate Prometheus with one of the most famous visualization tools in DevOps, that is Grafana. So before I explain you about Grafana, I'm just going to briefly explain you about Node Exporter and how we're going to be displaying its metrics in Grafana. So Node Exporter is simply an exporter that collects technical information from Linux nodes, right? Such as CPU, disk, memory statistics. I'm sure you must be aware of this by now. So the metrics that the Node Exporter exposes of the Linux machine that we're currently working on, that is Ubuntu, all of these metrics are going to be visually represented in Grafana. We know that Prometheus doesn't have like a great UI, right? All of the information is very textual and it's not very like visually appealing. So with the help of Grafana, I just really want to, expose all of these metrics in a graphical representation like gauges or, bar graphs, anything. It could be anything. So before we download Grafana onto our Linux machine, I am quickly going to be making some changes in the YML file. Before that, I'm just going to check if my Prometheus is up and running. It is. And I'm also going to check if my node exporter is up and running. It is. So that's great. I'm just going to clear my screen. Okay, so now that is done. So I'm just going to list down the files that are currently in the Prometheus directory, and I'm just going to shift to my Prometheus file. So I'm just going to move into this directory. Going to list the files. Okay, great. So we're just going to make some changes in the prometheus.yml file. I'm just going to. Okay. Now you can see that you have our alert manager configuration, our rule files, scrape configs, a job name. But here in the static config, so I'm just going to add the node exporter as a target too. I'm just going to add the IP address of, currently it's running on localhost 9100. Okay, great. Just going to save this. And I'm going to restart Prometheus. Okay, it's up and running. I'm just going to clear the screen. Okay, great. Just going to go down. So now I'm just going to go back to my Prometheus directory. And now let's go ahead and download Grafana. I will click on my web browser and I'll just go to the official website of Grafana. So this is the official website of Grafana. I'm just going to click on the download button. So on this page, you can just click download. And then if you scroll down, you can see Linux. So these are some of the commands that you can use to download Grafana on your Linux machine. So I've already made a list of all of these. So I'm just going to use them to download Grafana. And Okay, now that Grafana has been installed, I'm just going to clear my screen and I'm just going to check if it's up and running. So I'm just going to use this command to start the Grafana server, and then I will check the status of it. And it's up and running. Currently, it's running on port 3000. I'm just going to quickly shift to my web browser and check. As you can see that Grafana is up and running. That's great. If you've newly installed Grafana, the email address and the password by default is admin. Okay, and you can obviously create your own password. So once you're prompted with your credentials admin, then you can just create your own password and submit it. But I'm just going to skip this for now. And this is how the Grafana user interface really looks like. Okay, you can see that there's a search button, there's some icons on the left hand side, and there are also panels that you can play around with. So you can create your dashboard that will allow you to create beautiful visualizations for your data source, right? So once that is done, I'm just going to add my first data source. Just going to click this option in the basic panel. And here, as we are going to be working with Prometheus, we want our data source to be Prometheus. I'm just going to select this and it says data source added. So you can name your data source anything you'd like, but I'm just going to let it be Prometheus for now. And our URL of Prometheus is localhost 9090, right? Once that is done, I'm just going to check if everything looks fine. Yes, it does. So for adding a data source, all you have to do is name it and then add a URL. That's how easy it is. I'm just going to save and test this. And this is great. It's working, right? So once I've saved and tested it, so I'm just going to click the Grafana icon that's present on the left corner, left top corner, and this will redirect me to my homepage of Grafana. Okay, now that we are done with this, I'm just going to click the plus icon and click on the option import. So what we're going to do is we are going to import the dashboard from grafana.com. So if I search for Grafana Node Exporter dashboard and click on the first link that's available, it will redirect me to a page which has the name Node Exporter Full, right? So what it really does is it has an ID. The Node Exporter has an ID. So I'm just going to copy this ID to the clipboard and I'm quickly going to import this ID here, okay? And I'm going to load it. Because we're using the Node Exporter dashboard in Grafana, I'm just going to copy that ID and I'm going to go down. If you want to change the name, you can do that. And I'm going to select Prometheus as my data source. And I'm going to import this. Once that is done, you can see a beautiful representation of your CPU, your system load, your RAM used, and the root FS, the swap used. All of the information is beautifully being represented in gauges, right? These are gauges, okay? And these are the graphs currently. You can see that it's just been used here. You can see busy system, busy user, and all of how long it's been idle for. All of the information about the CPU. This is basic CPU information. You have storage disk. You have 8 panels here. You can see that here. So there's several different panels that have already been created by Grafana, and all you have to do is import it and add your data source. That is your Prometheus, right? And this is way better than viewing it on Prometheus because Prometheus has everything in text and in terms of metrics. So it is very boring to view it like that. I'd obviously prefer Grafana to just view all of this. If you enjoyed this tutorial, let us know in the comment section below. And if you have any queries or any sort of doubts, you can leave them too in the comment section below. Until next time, thank you.
I hope you have enjoyed listening to this video. Please be kind enough to like it, and you can comment any of your doubts and queries, and we will reply them at the earliest. Do look out for more videos in our playlist and subscribe to Edureka channel to learn more. Happy learning!